Hmm.
So I want to start with questions. This is a professor. What's her name again? Susan Conrad, right? Leah and I have a professor in common at Portland State. She always starts her class with questions and answers, which I think is just a great way to start because it kind of helps you jump in and go, oh yeah, what did we ask yesterday? So as you can see this, you all can see the screen okay?
Yeah.
It says class log. I'm also just modeling for you what you could do as a teacher, or even if you're the assistant, is to create a class log for your class. So I do it in Google Drive, but you can do it in Word. So you have a place where you're recording what's going on in class. And if you added links or you showed a YouTube video, you could have a record and say, oh, here it is. You can find it again, students. I've done this for the last 5 years of teaching with BLC, and it's students really like it. It's a great way to have a student management system for cheap and free. So what I did was create a class log, and here are your questions from yesterday. You wanted to know about the assistant and the teacher host and the difference in logging in, right? And there really is a difference. The lead teacher has to use the directions that you're going to get on the account, and you're going to be the host. And the assistant teacher will be like the student, and you're going to log in with the student login. Don't worry about this yet. Notice she said we will send all Zoom instructions out in early September.
Okay.
We have 7 Zoom accounts for these 350, 35, 40 classes or so. So they're all different links, and so we'll get there. All right, so that's coming in September, and then this next information about, okay, so what does a co-host do? I mean, we said yesterday the host can take the assistant and turn that assistant into a co-host. That's not going to be super helpful. You're not going to get a lot of power, is what she said. The primary benefit of a co-host is to manage in the waiting room. And if you remember, we've turned waiting room off as a default because we want students just to join in and start talking to each other before class starts. And we don't want all those doorbells going off and on either. And then the co-host can also manage recording, but we're not recording classes at all for student privacy reasons. So that's just a moot. If you wanted more information, you could click this. Yes?
But they can still use the instructor ability to jump between breakout rooms, right?
The co-host?
Yeah, which is what because that's what we would be primarily using it for.
Yes. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'll assign one of you today to be a co-host, and let's test that. Can we do that? This is one of those like live classes where the teacher doesn't know everything and you just have to figure it out as you go.
Cool, let's do it.
So I'll assign you, Leah, and we'll just do a little run because we're going to do a breakout room in a second.
Okay.
You would think so, right? All right, so then the question about the computer iPad, we noticed some limitations with the annotate tool. Any other limitations? And she said, yes. You all know who Linda is, right? She's the president of BLC, and she is a really good president. So she said that the Zoom on the iPad doesn't function as well as on the computer. So this is why we're asking teachers to teach from computers. Does that answer your question, Carol?
Yes, sharing is fine. I mean, so that I understand that. What about assistance?
Yeah, use a computer.
Okay, that could be a problem for me.
Okay, let me swing back and see if if it was only the annotate tool was the limitation. I don't know if there's any other limitations. I guess you kind of have to figure it out as you go, right?
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, I understand that I can't set up breakout rooms from the iPad, but if I can be an assistant on my iPad, that would be great.
Okay, let me swing back on that one. So far, well, I guess you got to just keep testing it, but I'll ask her. She, we're all just jumping in this. She started teaching in April and May with a bigger class than I did, so
yeah,
every problem didn't arise, so yeah. Okay, we'll find out.
I will go, install the Zoom client, assuming I can. I have kind of a back leveled laptop. So
Okay.
I'll try to get it installed on there so that I can do it from there. But like I have all my Zoom stuff I've done exclusively from the iPad so far.
Okay. All right. So it's just to annotate one. Closed captions, pretty much the answer is we're not going to use them. We think it's something you have to set up from the Zoom account anyway, but Linda just said from a TESOL perspective, we don't want students to both read and you want them to listen. When it's listening, you want to listen. And you can use closed captions when you're sharing a YouTube video and have that option, as you know. Do you know that, right? You can turn on closed captions. So the answer is no for closed captions. And then when I told her about the optimized screen share for video clip. Maybe you know about this, Gina. She said she hadn't tested it much, but I seem to remember it's causing problems. So we're not going to click it on. Do you remember where the optimization on button is on that screen, just as a test from yesterday? Or
it's at the bottom when you first try to share screen. It's a clickable, and it starts unclicked, so just leave it alone.
Yeah, basically leave it alone. So good remembering where that is. Can the teacher record a class? Is this option on, I asked, and she said we do not want teachers to record classes. So I think it's off anyway.
Okay.
And then I asked a breakout room question, but before I go there, I just want to ask, did you guys have a chance to watch the breakout room video tutorial?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that?
Nope, seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. The one thing that I asked her this question about the dialog box before opening all rooms. When I was doing it yesterday, I was like, oh no, how do I change the time in the Zoom, in the breakout room? So I created a slide for you to show you that. So what happened yesterday when I put you in a breakout room, I did knock out your last names here because I was a public school teacher, and it's just like ingrained in me to knock out last names. Okay, so before you hit this open all rooms, when you say everyone's going to go into their breakout room, right? I don't want to see your heads nodding like you know where I am.
Yeah.
You've assigned a breakout room, everyone's up here. Before you hit that, you have to hit options, and this little pop-up window is going to open up, and that will allow you to set the time for your breakout room. Breakout rooms close automatically after X minutes, and also set the countdown. Is this big enough for you?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I could hit share so you could see this better. Oh, not that one. I'm sorry, I just hit the wrong button. My bad. Any questions about that? Oh. So it's just that view button. Escape, I don't like that. Oh, it's not responding to my escape. Okay, you got that? That's my big tip of the day, and it was so important to me when I was in there yesterday that I decided to create a slide for you. All right. No questions about breakout rooms. Oh, what's the little hand clap thing?
Oh, it just means good job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Let's start talking about the books. So I'm going to go to, let's go to Intercombio, unless you have any other questions. Anything come up?
Oh, I do have one question. It's not related to breakout rooms, but is the poll function enabled with the BLC account?
Polling?
Yeah, is that enabled?
I think so, but I'll double check. I wrote down, I think so. I only created that slide that says what's off, and that's the recording and the chat between students. and the waiting room, and I ran that slide by the two people who run the accounts, and I said anything else, so I'm assuming that it's on,
Okay.
but I will
Well,
double check for you.
You're on that account now, right, Leslie? So you could do a poll if it's on,
Oh yeah,
because
I
you're the
could.
host.
That's true. We could test all these things. Thank you. But let me do that in a spot that's in a good place to try
Yeah.
it. Okay, yeah, that would work. Okay, so let's go to intercambio lessons. I think I like this share screen. Do you like share screen? This feels like it's really too big. Is this too small for you? Because I kind of
No,
like
that's
having
okay.
The section at the top is super big.
Yeah. Let me just do stop share for a second. And it's because I kept hitting the plus sign. I think. I don't know. Any tips? What am I doing wrong?
So your browser is zoomed in. If you see where address bar is, there you'll see a little magnifying glass with a plus sign on it.
Yeah, this?
Click on it and take it back to reset.
Oh, reset. Okay, thank you.
That puts you back to.
You're the best.
Woohoo!
This is what I mean by learning from each other. Okay, so how many of you had, thank you so much, Gina. How many of you had a chance to open up the books?
I did not. And
Okay.
I got bollocksed up in, you have to create an account somehow or another. Is that right?
Well, how about I just walk you through it, and then I'm going to take you to a breakout room.
Okay.
So you can all open the book for each other, try an audio clip, share a screen, just muck about with it. And you can pick whatever book you want. So just as a review, there's a left and a right, and everybody's starting the year with book level 2. I mean, not book level 2, but the left book,
Left.
whatever you're assigned. And then the general each book has 14 units. There's a mid-course review, there's a final review. They cover grammar. And you have I think our letter told you, we pay for your digital access to the book, the digital copy of the book. And if you want a paper version of the teacher book, you can order them directly from Intercambio. We're still talking about if you want to do an order with us, like the students at the beginning of the year will order the books through their teacher, through you, and then we'll do a master book order. So if you want to do a teacher book in that master book order in the end of September, we're happy to pay the shipping costs for that book. But we would ask that if you really want a paper copy, that you donate that to BLC and get one, if you can. And if you can't, just let us know and we'll work it out. Questions about the book? All right, no questions. All right, so let's go to BLC All Intercambio and just find the book. So you got just a bazillion sublinks to deal with, because this is what I wrote this is in the welcome letter.
Yeah.
And to get to the digital copy of the book, you have to log into ISSUU, and this is the pictures of the book. So you just go to Teacher Books, and you open that link, and then from there you have to go right. I wish this was a little darker for you to see it, but this wasn't my page. Go log into ISSU.com. Am I going too fast? I tend to go too fast, so if you want me to slow down.
No, you're good.
Okay, go into ISSU.com. And then this is where it gets a little goofy. There's screenshots of all this in those directions, but you go up to read, and then you have to go to purchases, because Beaverton Literacy Council purchased access to these digital books, and right, so you have a digital license. So go to purchases, and then from there, I think I'm actually already in.
I think Carol was asking about the initial login. I think you are already logged.
I'm already logged in.
Yeah, how do you get logged into ISSUU.com?
There was
These are the directions.
right there, yeah. The teacher books at Beaverton, where it says login, then it'll prompt you for a username, and then you need to type in teacherbooks@beavertonliteracy.org, and then the password.
Okay, that's what, and that must have been in one of those emails somewhere that I couldn't
Yeah, well, it's in the welcome letter.
okay.
So in that welcome letter is everything you need basically to find things, and it's called
Okay.
this particular document. So it started here in the welcome letter. It says, "Dear teachers, our online curriculum is blah blah blah," and it's hosted on this website. And then you go to this teacher link book, right? Teacher books.
Yep.
You go there and you open that link, and then from there you're going to get this page of teacher instructions. It's called BLC Intercambio Books All, something like that.
Okay.
So there's your login, there's the password, and then you go to read, purchases, and then boom, you're in. And then you can just keep this tab open on your desktop, so you always have access to it, or bookmark it when you get around to it. Any questions? And the thing about the audio tracks, if you go back and you want to, if you guys need something to do right now, why don't you go find your book? If you're teaching level 4, open it. Get the book and the audio track. So if you want the audio track, go back to this page, open your audio track, and these are YouTube links. And then you can see I created this page where they're all linked by books level left and right. So let's say I want to do level 4, and I'm going to open this, and it's YouTube. Oh, sorry. Matt, is that you? Can you hear that? No, because I probably didn't hit click share. If you want to find the rest of the tracks, you guys can see this okay? Hit show more. Okay, I can't. So why don't you take a minute right now and open a book and open an audio track. So it's on your desktop ready to go as if you're teaching the class, and you've got to have all this stuff up and running. Yes?
Hey, Leslie, would you mind putting the link to the welcome letter in the chat? I'm sure I have it, but I'm hunting through emails right now trying to find it.
Hold on. I think I've got it.
Yeah, you're so much faster. Yeah, here we go.
Track 1.
Oops.
Hey, Karen.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Here we go.
Yeah, hit your.
So here's the books and audio links
Oh, thanks,
in the
Sue.
chat.
I love having an assistant. You're awesome. I lost Carol. Where'd she go?
Well, I'm looking at the book. I was able to get to a book
Okay.
this time. Okay. There.
I did the same thing. Right one.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
here I am, you guys see me and everything. And if I toggle then to Safari, do I disappear?
Mm-mm.
No.
Okay, I'm going now to Safari.
Yeah.
Am I still on the camera?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are any of us disappearing other than I notice Carol is? But
I do. That's another iPad difference because the
Mhm.
iPad is not as good as multitasking as
Got it.
PCs are. So,
Okay.
so I can see that. Well, we need to find out about the assistant thing, but
Yeah. Okay, so you all have your tabs open, right?
mhm.
So I'm going to put you in a breakout room right now. And why don't you pretend that you're the teacher with each other, take turns and open the book on the desktop, open an audio file. You can scroll through and find some place where you have to play an audio file, or open up an exercise and use the annotate tool and fill in a blank. Just say, pretend you're the teacher and just ask the question and say, what's the answer to this? You guys got that? Do you remember my big tip for
Take a picture.
Yeah, take a picture before you send people. Who said that? You get points today. Sarah, send you points. Take a picture, because when students get there, they're like, what am I supposed to do? So you don't have to do that because I know you all have very good memories and you don't need that. But tell your students to take a picture.
right.
Can you think of another way? What if they forgot to take a picture? What would you do?
Well, you could, when you jump into their breakout room, you can give it to them. They can write it down
Okay.
while they're there. You could post a picture that they could open up in a link in there if you had a way to link a picture, but you'd have to do it pretty quick.
You have to do it quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd be able to do it quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Use the chat thing to post it, to get them a link.
And there, if you had your slides that you were using for the class up on Google Docs, you could have a link to the slides in the chat first thing if people wanted to open it on their own computers.
Yes.
It doesn't work as well on phones though.
Right.
So really screenshotting is the best way.
That's the fastest. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we just have to, yeah, that's the fastest. They just can't, yeah, the screen real estate. All right. So let's see what I can do today. I'm going to stop share and you guys are going to go into a breakout room and I'm going to remember, I'm going to do automatically today. And I'm going to remember that I have to go to options. And if I want to go, how much time do you want in this breakout room? What choice you have? I guess I'll just close it. But if you really wanted to structure your class tightly, and you will have to because you only have an hour and 15 minutes, you might kind of lock yourself down with, okay, they got 15 minutes, you know? And I'll give you a 60-second countdown, okay? So, and then.
Okay. Have you made me a co-host yet, by the way?
No, I'm
Okay.
bad.
No.
Wait, I think it's too late.
Don't worry about it. We'll do it later.
Yeah, let me do a test on that. Okay, so you guys, I'm sorry, join, but you're not joined. Oh yeah, because you were like holding off because you're so smart. Okay, close all rooms. Goodbye. Happy practicing. I'll pop in. Okay. Oh, whoopsie, my bad. I just hit the wrong button.
That's okay.
How about open all rooms? Oh, let's see, Leah, we can come back. I don't know. Does anyone remember where you make a co-host? I have to go muck around with that. It's not in this option.
I think it's under participants. If you go and then like hover over someone, do you have the power there to make a co-host?
Yeah, is it in your drop down?
Yeah, Leah. Participants, I need under more, make co-host. Okay, I just made you a co-host. You want to make Leah a co-host? Yes. Okay, now open all rooms and we'll see what happens. What are your powers, Leah? That is your question.
Right on.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
We just practiced going to breakout rooms and using the opening up the books and things like that. And so I don't know, I'm not sure what your level of comfortability, how comfortable you are with Zoom. Are you totally new to it?
I've had, my son has big brother, big sister meetings on them, but that's kind of all I've done.
Okay.
But I did download the Intercombo app device and and that seems doable. So I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. That's one help. If we want to stay over at the end, I'm happy to catch you up a little bit, but I'm just going to go forward where we are, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
Because there's not that much time left, and I feel like we need to cover a couple more things. But you brought up a good point. Do all of you know that Intercambio also has an audio track app on your phone that's free, and that's where all the audio tracks are as well. Super easy to use. That's in the information for that is in the Intercambio in that welcome page on the great training links. And so if something went wrong with your, I can't get that audio track to work, what I've done is to like just played it on my phone and held it up to the speaker. That actually might even be faster than clicking through things. Just if you want to play the audio track, that might be when I do it, when I teach, that's probably what I'll do instead of clicking tabs. So just know that it is an app on your phone for just the audio tracks. Okay, so we feel like we've covered the books and playing around with them a little bit, went to a breakout room. I want to just pay attention or let you know about how Intercambio thinks about their book design. They are a a literacy group like ours in Boulder, Colorado, but what they've done is something pretty smart. They've created materials as a revenue stream for their organization. And all the people who wrote the materials are actually working there. And so that's very integrated in that way. It's pretty cool. They know their stuff, they know their product. And one thing that they want to recommend for you to do is to think about, I'm going to put it here. The general guideline, can you see my?
Yeah.
That, I'll just get a spotlight. The general guideline for thinking about a unit is maybe think about spreading it out over 3 classes. So if you remember one thing today, remember, think about, that it's a lot of material. You're not going to cover it all in an hour. And they even say spread it out a little bit, because it gets kind of intense to do, audio and fill in the blank, and it's very focused, right? So what our thought too, as from BLC, is thinking, well, remember that one intercombio unit doesn't mean you're integrating the skill either, that there's more to teaching than the textbook. Kind of like everyone knows that, thinks about that. That's our philosophy. That's how teaching works. It's not just following a textbook. It's kind of asking yourself, oh, what are my students learning? How do I know? How can I help them get better? So that means you got to know your students, right? So let's think about, any questions about that? Just get in your head that intercombio is asking you to supplement, and we're asking you to, practice in different ways, figure out ways to enrich and apply things. So add another YouTube video that might reinforce something, that kind of thing. Anyone want to give an example of something that they've done supplemental work with the textbook before that worked really well for them? Or ways of thinking about that?
Well, I've taken textbook material and made games and activities. This is in classroom, not online, so I have to think about it a bit more to see how I would integrate it online. But for instance, taking vocabulary words, and everybody gets a vocab word from the pile in there, and they have to switch partners every 30 seconds. In there, and they each have to make a sentence to the other using their vocabulary word. And then at the end of like 5 minutes, we trade words, try it again, just play around with it with conversation.
Cool, that's great. Anybody else? That's a good segue into how I'm thinking about. I guess I have to erase that. Clear or whatever. Is that the right thing to clear it?
You just made a square.
No, that's part of the slide.
Oh, okay.
Clear all drawings. So that's, as I'm sitting in your shoes and you're sitting in my shoes, being BLC teachers or assistants, this is what we really have to do mentally. We've got to make that switch from the in-person classroom to an online classroom. And we have to ask ourselves the questions, okay, well, I did this in the regular classroom. How do I do it on Zoom? And so before I filled in any answers, I want you to just think about this right now. Maybe jot down some notes next to your computer, or open a Word doc, but to be able to answer this question. So most of this. The big one is down here. But if you're a teacher, you're going to share an audio track. You feel like you're ready to do this? You can either nod your head or you just did it, right? So you can, and push comes to shove, Carol, get the phone app and use the audio track on the phone app. I think I wrote that down. Yeah, that's your workaround, I think. Yep. It's faster than clicking all these things. What do you want to share? A video clip, a YouTube video. Mentally, can you think of the things that you have to do on Zoom in order to do that? Yeah. And my first mistake when I did it back in April was I forgot to click the button for share computer audio. So that's a big one. You have to click share computer sound, it says.
Yeah.
Or else your students won't hear it. All right. Okay, good. What about something super spontaneous? Your student says, hey, what's a mirror? I always use this as an example because I taught intro one year, and that was one of the questions. And we had this long lesson about what's a mirror. So when you teach level 1, intro level 1 or level 2, you are using images all the time, right? I did from go up to Google, click images, and then show a picture. So mentally, do you feel ready that you could do that?
Mm-hmm.
Just click it and go, here's a bunch of pictures.
Yep.
I'm looking for nodding heads.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice. So then let's talk about that old chalkboard, the whiteboard that you had in your room. And now you really need students to be able to write on something because you're giving dictation, or you want them to fill in the blank, or you want to write a story, you want them to reflect. In my mind, there's basically 2 choices that you have to be able to do this. What are they? Everybody write down what the answer is, and before I ask you to fill that in. There may be another one I'm not thinking of.
Something? No.
I'm going to type these in on a different slide when I think I gave some space for that. But we can just talk about it for a minute. Everyone feel like they got an answer?
Yeah.
So Sarah, you're clicking all over my screen. What you doing?
Sorry.
Stop
that.
So who wants to answer? Nancy, who haven't we heard from today?
I can start. One option would be the annotate. Have them type in using annotate.
On a blank, let's call this on a blank piece of paper, blank board, not on the textbook. Yeah. I guess that's how didn't clarify my question. So let's say it's a blank piece of paper.
Yep.
What's that?
Type in their answer on using the annotate function.
Yeah. What's your blank piece of paper going to be though? What kind of doc?
Oh, could be a Word doc, could be a PowerPoint doc, Excel, well, probably not Excel, but probably Word or PowerPoint.
Okay. Or Google or, okay.
Google still Word or PowerPoint.
And another one?
That was what she said was mine. I said, just make a blank PowerPoint slide and use annotation.
And I think that's the fastest way. There's another feature for Zoom has its own whiteboard. Has anybody used Zoom's whiteboard?
Nope.
No.
I don't Linda and I, we go back and forth with it. It's okay in a pinch, but it'll automatically save for you. But I totally recommend just using a blank Google Doc or a Word doc and have everybody write on it. You can also just share, if it's in the cloud, then you can give everybody privileges to that doc, and then they can write on it.
So you would need to set up a partition basically within your own Google Docs for your class and then grant access.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Okay.
Everyone has access to it. And that's where the class log might come in handy, like it's a blank page for everybody writes on the class log, and it's a record of what's going on in the class.
It's also a good way to keep your students informed, say if they have to miss a class. Yep. They can have access to your class slides or, the schedule of what you intend to cover.
Absolutely. So. And because lots of students miss classes, I can tell you that. Yeah. And so it's like, check the class log, that's all there. All right. So I think you guys know 10 times more than I ever did back in April when I first started this.
That must have been such a nightmare.
It was just like, whoa, no, my students are really smart. They're like, yeah, try that. Turn that off. It was pretty funny. Yeah. I lost my other slide. Oh yeah, so so then, okay, we're talking about in-person to online classroom. So you feel really comfortable with the audio, the video, writing on a blank document in the cloud. What about mentally, what would you do here? Try to go through the steps mentally, see how fast you are with that. Teacher asks students to work in pairs. Let's say you want to play running dictation, you know that game, or Pictionary. You're asking students, you have to give them directions. How are you going to do that?
So the issue that I foresee with this is because a lot of times you let people pick their partners, is that setting up breakout rooms with people picking their partners would be a pretty onerous thing. So I think you're going to have people accept randomized.
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
Yeah.
We don't, there's the feature that allows you to go and set up your partners, you know, or design your groups before the Zoom class starts. We don't have access to that. It's turned off. Long story, I don't need to go into it. So you're going to have to figure out your breakout rooms right away, or your partners. So it's faster to just do automatically. But you can, once you get to know your students, you know, push them around, right? Gina and Nancy, have you done breakout rooms a lot already?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Gina, you know, if you feel like you got this down, I could just go, you're more than welcome just to read my slides. The only thing I'm covering now, if you need to go, is the anatomy of a lesson. That's the next thing we're going to talk about, which is about teaching. You're
That's probably where I'm the weakest. So
okay. Thank you. I'll give you 5 more minutes here. Any other questions? Okay, so breakout rooms, I just want you to feel comfortable going, I know how to set up a breakout room. And this is where you just have to go watch the, you know, the hard part is like you can't practice unless you have a group of people.
Right.
We need to create a little simulation.
Well, they said they had the volunteer sign up for if you want to test things in Zoom before you take. How does that work? Do they randomly assign one person the host duties for those, or?
Good question. I thought it was like go find yourself a partner and there's like a sign up sheet.
Okay.
But I'll ask Linda how she's thinking about who might the host be for
because
the practice.
That's really the best way to test it if you got like 5 people.
Yeah, for sure.
In a group and then traded hosting.
Yeah.
Although how do you do that?
I know. But just mentally, just thinking about how to be fast with those breakup rooms and how to give directions to students, take a picture of it, and thinking like if you needed to get information to a student, you could in the chat box send them a link if you needed to get information. This isn't really going to be applying to people who are down in level 1 and level 2. You know, this is way too much information. But for the upper 4, 5, and 6 for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would create a separate Google Doc for whatever breakout room activities I was intending to do that day. In there so that I could link it in the chat for anybody who had a question, said, what were we supposed to do again? Be like, there's the link.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah,
for sure. Link it in the chat. I'll add your answers here, but for lack of time here, I'm not gonna type them in, but I'll type them in after class, and you guys will have access to the slides. But that's my work process will be, or my process too for linking. Let's go to anatomy of a lesson. As I just said, our philosophy at BLC is it's more than just following the textbook. So right now, just type down what you think. If you just say, hey, what's the anatomy of a lesson? What are the basic, what's the basic outline of any lesson in ESL? You can be general, but just type down your first thoughts. And then I'll give you Linda's version, I'll give you my version, and we'll talk. Go ahead, Leah.
Well, so it depends on which class it is. If it's the first class, I usually do an icebreaker or a getting to know you sort of activity. If it is any class after the first class, that's usually a, hey, what did we cover last lesson? Sort of a general review of the material that we've already gone over. And I will usually start that with some sort of fun and interesting outside the box activity related to what we were doing. YouTube video, a joke, a story, something that can generate interest and sort of pull people in.
Okay. Does everyone have that same kind of idea, some kind of hook, some kind of anticipatory set, some kind of how am I going to engage my students today?
Mm-hmm.
That I would concur. I
Start the class, please, with a laugh. Yeah.
Yeah. Something to get in their background knowledge, to activate that background knowledge.
Yeah. And try to, and if it's the second class and after, have that be the material that we covered in the previous lesson, just to see what kind of retention they're having, which is a good gauge of, how we're doing as teachers.
Yeah. So just a quick assessment of what's going on. Yeah. Constantly. Yeah. Because how do you know? You don't know. It's really hard to begin teaching if you don't know what your students know.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So my daughter was in Guinea for 9 months in the Peace Corps. So she comes back with her French. So I use French words now and again.
Nice.
Okay. Beautiful. Everyone have something like that? Icebreaker, activity, activate background knowledge, a hook, that kind of thing. Brilliant. Next thing, you want to add to it? Are you on mute, Carol? So let's go to, how about Gina? What's up?
I'm sorry, I'm off mute. Go ahead. I was making a sandwich because I need to leave with my sandwich just as soon as you're done.
Okay. I'm going to jump to Gina for maybe, like, what would be in the anatomy of a lesson, the next thing you do after the icebreaker?
I had down very clearly state what we're going to focus on or learn today.
Objectives,
yeah.
Oh, you guys are brilliant. Okay, state your learning objectives for sure. What's today about? Anything else? How else might you say that?
What's the point of the day or the lesson?
Yeah, what's
introduce?
What are we getting out of this today?
Yeah, really. What are we getting out of this?
Why are we here?
Why are you here? Yeah, great. Some kind of overview. Moving on. Sorry, my numbers aren't really working very well, so we're just going to get rid of them for right now. And what else? What would be after that, Carol?
Well, I thought you would start giving, I called it examples, but you start giving some sort of, showing them some examples of what it is that you want them to learn.
Of the content,
Yeah,
definitely.
Introducing new information.
Where I came from, the mantra that was put in my head was model, lead, test, model, lead, test. This is an old special education kind of thing, and I didn't ever go into special education, but I had some reading background on that. And it's just sort of, you model it, and then you walk students through it, and then the testing is like, the term for that is like assessment. You're always querying, do you know this? Did you get it? How do I know you know that?
Yeah.
So it's not test as in any kind of formal way, just informal.
Wow.
That's how I got into my head. Okay, so great. Show models, examples of the content, and then what? Nancy, did you chime in? Or?
The next one I had was just exercises and activities to support that topic, which would fall under your lead, kind of the lead piece there.
Yeah. I cannot type. Okay, activities. Yeah, to practice content.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? Got the icebreaker, objectives, why are we here, examples. Now you're in the thick of the lesson or whatever you're trying to do.
Maybe answer questions.
Lots of room, space, answer questions. I love that. Thank you so much for that. That is brilliant. That's what you need to build a lot of space for that.
Yeah.
And just, the one way I do it with myself when I'm teaching is just have a blank slide to remind yourself, okay, pause, get student feedback, especially if they're doing dictation. Really important. Anything else?
I do some sort of knowledge check, like either through a poll or I don't know, some way to just make sure individually everyone is able to.
Oh yeah, we'll do that poll. Yep, definitely. The thumbs up, the shake heads, or actually a written poll. I like the idea of actually all students writing something down on their own because it makes everybody answer the question instead of just calling on one person. Good. And then anything else?
Make sure you do a summary at the end as well.
Review,
Like this is,
yeah.
review and summary.
Get your students to do a review if you can, if they're higher level. Ask students to do that.
So what did we cover today, guys? What did we learn?
And that, to me, that's more like reflection. Because it's that idea of students to know, the more you know how you know what you know, to think about your learning, the deeper you're learning. So how might we ask students to reflect?
Well, cover what we're learning today, review what we've given them to do if we assign homework. I'm not sure if we're assigning homework. Okay, so if we're assigning homework and they're saying, okay, do you know what it is that you're supposed to do before we come to next class? And they're so not only what have you covered, but what are we going forward with? So
yeah, next steps. Yep, homework for more practice, right? Or what I would call independent practice, maybe. But let's go back just for 1 second, the idea of reflection. It's also called metacognition, you know, just understanding your processes and what you know and don't know. So if you're going to do metacognition or just having students to reflect in this online environment, what are some of the tools you can use on Zoom to get everybody to take the time to go, what did I learn today? Beside polling.
Yeah. See, normally I would have a game or something at the end with a reward system in place, but I cannot hand out candy via Zoom. So,
but this is what I'm asking you to do, and I'm asking myself to do that too. Think of all the games you've ever played in the classroom. How are you going to transfer that? Is there a way to transfer it? And some of them you really can, like the fly swatter game. But let's just go back to the question of just reflection. What's a quick way to ask every student to respond? 3 things that you learned today. How would you do that? Or what tool on Zoom?
Function, you can ask them to type in their answers via chat.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Anybody different? I would use the chat box. That way the teacher gets this flood of information. Can you think of another way?
Google Forms is kind of cool too. You can have everyone submit a form and then it in real time displays all the answers.
Okay, good. You'd have to be prepared to set that up though, right? Ahead of time. I'm always looking for the quick and dirty thing in class. But
what's the easy way out here?
Yeah, the fastest, because the thing about teaching is it's got a lot of spontaneous elements to it. You can't just plan a lesson and think it's going to go that way, because it doesn't. It's real life and real time, and so you have to be flexible. So that's why I'm like, oh well, if I didn't write I wanted to put that question in the form instead of the other one, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anything else? Plan. Well, you're brilliant. You all get A+++, or lots of candy, because you all followed exactly what sort of Linda did. This is her version: engage, introduce, use the practice, more practice, discussion, and wrap up. That's Linda's version. My version is the hook, some kind of that old first grade thing, or I think it's elementary school, KWL. It's a great little chart. Do you guys know that? Do you know KWL? What you know, what you want to know, and what you learned. I'll send that to you after class, but it's just a template to query your students and have them brainstorm. What do you already know about this topic? And everyone writes down, and the teacher writes down what they already know. What do you want to know? What are your questions? And then near the end of the lesson, you're going to go, well, what did you learn today? So it's just called KWL. It's been around since God knows when, I don't know, the 60s probably. Super old. And then, so some kind of structured overview of the lesson, like where we're going today, the learning objective, model it, controlled practice with groups and pairs, and then reflect, and then more independent practice. Good?
Yep.
So obviously the anatomy is key because that's sort of your structure. The rest of it, you're kind of just, you're going to go for it. You're going to go to these nice helpful links, and you can take a look at Linda Bonder's sample lesson. She's more detailed than I am about things, but I think for this year, I'm going to probably rely on the book a little bit more than I used to. And you can take a look at the great training videos because you're going to need to do that for understanding the color wheel.
Okay.
I don't know. That's a new thing for the pronunciation tool that you got to train yourself to do.
Okay.
All right, and that's in the tutorial. And then of course there's Linda's website, and she's got some online things as well. And then there, of course, there's, you know, esl.com, and you can just Google you can search. There's so much information out there. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No. Are we still meeting Thursday?
We are not meeting Thursday.
We are not meeting Thursday.
We covered it all because there are only 5 students in the class, and you're all your background knowledge of what you already knew was huge compared to some other of our volunteers. So we skipped stuff.
Okay. So I saw on the volunteer sheet that they want us to kind of have our lesson plan in place by the 10th of September. Are we submitting that at all, or are we just, we're just flying? Okay.
You're flying, and it's a great deal of trust in BLC. And then we will also have some roundtable discussions in early October, or just some meeting groups, volunteer only, if you want to show up and sort of, you know, push it around how to go and what's working for you, what's not working for you. And we really would like you to come to at least the first one so we can get some feedback about how things are going.
Awesome.
So that's my tips for today.
Okay.
The slides are here for you for your reference, and please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions.
Okay.
And Leah, if you could stay after for a minute, I can test the polling.
Sure.
If you have a minute. I know, Carol, you got to go eat your sandwich.
I do. Yeah, I got it. Here it is, ready to go.
I hope this was helpful. I hope you got it down. If you don't have it down, don't worry. You'll figure it out. That's my motto.
Thank you, Leslie.
Leslie, if I wanted to talk about, like, if I was going to be, I don't know, I just signed in, so I don't really have like an idea of who if I'm teaching, if I'm assisting, all that. Do I talk to Jim about all that?
Jim or Linda, either one. Jim is the night, if he's the evening coordinator, and Linda is the day one, but they're both acting as registrars. So you can CC them on both and find out. I'm sure they're working on it right now. We just got another 25 students and things, they're just scrambling. So.
Okay, I'll reach out.
But yeah, you're filling a really important hole where someone dropped out. So that I do know.
I can force my husband to come too.
It's cool to have I really need an assistant. So like we need more assistants. So tell your friends about it, because assistants are really going to be important in those breakout rooms, right?
Yeah.
Especially for level 1 and 2 and 3.
I'm happy to be an assistant. I mean, I don't know. I'll talk to them and see where they need most.
Super. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks for being patient, because I knew you knew most of it.
Oh, this is all good stuff. Thanks everyone. It was nice to meet you.
All right. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye, Gina.
Good meeting you, Gina.
Stick around. Oh, where did Jill go? Stick around, Jill.
Okay.
Nancy, any other questions? She's goodbye, Nance. Sarah, how are you doing?
I look forward to it.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, just muck about. That's my motto. Muck about.
Okay. Thanks so much. Good
my pleasure. Don't hesitate to contact if you have more questions.
Will do.
Okay. Bye-bye.